Hello, movie nerds, and welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, a podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we are going to talk about Ahsoka, episode 3, or as I lovingly want to refer to it, why is Dave Filoni still in charge? This is just a question that I would like to pose to everyone. Why is Dave Filoni still in charge? I know that I have seen some people talking about how Dave Filoni is such a genius, and I would really like someone to point out to me his record of being a genius, because so far he's given us 2 somewhat decent seasons of The Mandalorian, 1 shitty season of The Mandalorian, a shitty season of The Book of Boba Fett, and a semi-boring, completely ridiculous story in Ahsoka. I was expecting, because the first 2 episodes were a little bit slow, but not craptacular. It wasn't the worst thing ever. So I was sort of expecting in episode 3 and kind of continuing throughout the season for us to sort of get somewhere. But this is very much giving me Obi-Wan Kenobi vibes. I remember watching little baby Princess Leia run around and having grown-ass people trip over their own shoes and fall down. That style of writing, just we have to make sure that the story is so stupid in order to carry on our plot because we don't know how to write anything that's logical or has any sort of progress in it. I was irritated 2 minutes in to the new episode when they basically just stole from the classics and took Luke's learning how to use the Force with his blaster helmet where he couldn't see out of it. They basically just cut, paste, borrowed that. If you can't come up with your own storyline, just say that. Just say that. You don't keep borrowing from good Star Wars to continue making your mediocre Star Wars. It's just ridiculous and it's tiresome. And all of these episodes, all of Ahsoka's episodes are so short. And yet half of them are the longest drawn out, slowest fight sequences ever, or slow conversations where we learn nothing. And in this one, I swear to God, if they make Sabine a Force wielder when she is proven in 3 consecutive episodes now that she doesn't know how to use the Force, she's not really very good at using a lightsaber, she got stabbed, come on. And then we get this long drawn out, which had to have been half of the episode, was this long drawn out space battle where is it just stormtroopers that I thought that the running joke was stormtroopers can't hit anything, haha, it's super funny. But in this episode, it's no one can fucking hit anything. You have literally a ship right in front of you. And the most ridiculous part of episode 3 for me was 6 gunfighters, right? 6 fighting ships that have lasers that make this noise. Ting, 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 ting. Not really gonna quake in your boots, right? That's not really gonna terrify you, especially because they're green lasers. They're just fighting green goo, or it does no damage. They can't hit anything. They have 2 Force users inside 6 gunmen, and not a single one of them can fucking hit anything. And Sabine back in the gunship, right? Firing literally right at them, misses every single one. What are you doing? What are you doing? If by the end of this, Sabine turns out to be some amazing Force wielder, I'm going to scream. I'm going to scream. You can't just say everyone has the Force, and if you believe in yourself like Wendy from Peter Pan, you too can be a Jedi. Stop it. Just stop it. At this point, I really just think with Disney's stock plummeting into the Earth's core and absolutely none of their movies or television shows keeping an audience or making them any money, please, Bob Iger, don't just take Star Wars away from Kathleen Kennedy. Take Star Wars, wrap it up into a pretty little bow, give it back to George Lucas and go, we're sorry. We're so sorry. We made a mistake. It was a horrible mistake. We never should have bought this IP. We're going to give it back, and we're going to pray that in the time that you have left, you can undo the damage that we have done. Because in 10 years, little over 10 years, Disney has completely destroyed Star Wars, completely destroyed it, completely just broken apart the fan base to the point where we've got people who really just want the old Star Wars feeling back, and then the other people that'll just watch anything that's got Star Wars duct taped onto the side of it, you know? It's frustrating to me that an IP that George Lucas made survived 30 years, if not longer than that, just based on how good the story was, how great the movies made people feel. And in half of that, Disney has completely ruined it and destroyed it and made it a joke. And we can only pray that we are lucky enough that someone gets it, because Disney is like failing at this point. Disney is getting sued twice and losing money left, right, and center. And I can only hope that they decide to sell off some of their IP. And I can only hope that Star Wars is one of those things, so that we can get something that looks like Star Wars again, because Ahsoka is not it. At this point, the only reason that I'm going to continue watching Ahsoka is for David Tennant, who is probably one of my favorite characters in this, Ray Stevenson, who I really love, and for maybe the 15 minutes, and I pray that there's more than that, maybe 15 minutes of Hayden Christensen, who I adore. It bums me out that Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor had to walk back into Disney Star Wars. I genuinely wish that we had seen them both walk back into George Lucas's Star Wars, because that is something that I think would have been magical and wonderful to see. And I really, really hope that I can see something that resembles Star Wars before I die. I would really love that, because Star Wars was a game changer for me. It was something that I absolutely loved as a child. I clung onto that like it was some sort of magic potion. That's where all my allowance went, was right into collecting all of the action figures, all of the ships. I loved it so much. And I haven't collected anything Star Wars in so long, because there hasn't been anything that felt like Star Wars in years, in a decade. And I really just want to see Star Wars taken away from Kathleen Kennedy, if nothing else. Take it away from Kathleen Kennedy. Get rid of this bullshit of the Force is female, and the only characters that we can have are like girl bosses. Bring back something that actually looks like the original story, where it doesn't matter if you're a girl or a guy, you're on the side of good. You're fighting Darth Vader and the evil empire. Bring that back. Try that. Try something other than lazy script writing. Please, for the love of God. I can only imagine, because we're only 3 episodes in, how much worse Ahsoka is going to get. And I am hoping that it just stays somewhat boring and mediocre so that I can struggle bus through it. I'm hoping it doesn't get much, much worse than this. Like, I'm hoping it doesn't dive down into the Book of Boba Fett horrible levels. But at this point, I just don't see it getting any better. And I hope that I'm wrong on that. I hope that somehow it turns around and it gets better. But if we're 3 episodes in and you still can't make something that even makes remote sense, I don't think your writers are going to pan out on this. So those are my thoughts on Ahsoka episode 3. I would love to know what you guys thought of this episode. Subscribe if you want to join the Movie Nerd family. And I hope to see you in the next episode.